What's going on, everyone? Today is November 30th, and we're breaking down the Sunday NFL slate. Let's lock in, go through the matchups, and see what stands out for today's action. San Francisco 49ers versus Cleveland Browns. For this matchup, I'm taking the Browns plus 4.5. The 49ers may be the stronger team on paper, but Cleveland continues to hang around, especially at home. Their defense ranks 4th in DVOA, gives up the second fewest passing yards per game, and is solid against the run. San Francisco has also been inconsistent. Brock Purdy is coming off a game with 3 interceptions, and the 49ers have only covered the spread twice in their last 7 games following a win. Meanwhile, Cleveland is 4-0 ATS at home, so I'm rolling with the Browns to cover. For the player prop in this matchup, I'm looking at Shedeur Sanders over 155.5 passing yards. We're all rooting for him. In his debut without even a full week of practice, he still threw for 209 yards and helped Cleveland get the win. Now, with a full week working with the starters, 155.5 passing yards feels very realistic. Jacksonville Jaguars versus Tennessee Titans. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Jaguars -6. Jacksonville has won 3 of their last 4 and is sitting in a much better position than Tennessee, while the Titans have dropped 10 of their last 11. The Jaguars defense has been creating chaos, especially with how many pressures and sacks they've generated lately, and with the Titans still struggling offensively and allowing one of the highest sack rates in the league. I'm backing Jacksonville to cover. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Cam Ward over 13.5 rushing yards. He spent the bye week focusing on using his legs more, and it's been working. Before that, he wasn't getting over 6 rushing yards, but now he's put up 33 yards and 37 yards in his last 2 games. With Jacksonville's aggressive pressure forcing QBs to scramble and Tennessee likely playing from behind, this feels like a solid spot for him to hit this number again. Houston Texans versus Indianapolis Colts. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Texans plus 4.5. Houston has been competitive in every game this season, and even though the Colts are 8-3, this spread feels a little wide for a divisional matchup. The Texans' defense has been the strength. They rank 2nd in the league in points allowed and are the best team in the NFL defending play action. Meanwhile, Indianapolis' offense has cooled off, putting up just 20 points in each of their 2 recent losses. With how close Houston keeps games and how strong their defense has been, I'm backing the Texans to cover. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Nick Chubb over 15.5 rushing yards. He's hit this number in 5 straight games, and even in limited usage, he's still finding ways to break off runs. With his recent consistency and a very manageable line, I like him to go over here. Miami Dolphins versus New Orleans Saints. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Dolphins -5. Miami has won 3 of their last 4 and seems to finally be turning the corner after starting 1-6. Meanwhile, New Orleans comes in struggling offensively and hasn't shown much consistency. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Devon A-Train over 78.5 rushing yards. He's been on fire lately, running for 120 yards last week and 174 the game before that. And he's gone over this line in 2 straight and 4 of his last 6 games. With the Saints giving up 123.5 rushing yards per game, this feels like another spot where he can keep the momentum going. Atlanta Falcons versus New York Jets. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Falcons -2.5. Both of these teams are dealing with backup quarterbacks, but I trust Atlanta a little more in this spot. The Falcons finally snapped their losing streak with a solid win over the Saints, while the Jets are still struggling and haven't won with Tyrod Taylor. Atlanta also has the edge on the ground. They've rushed for 1,320 yards and 12 touchdowns, and with Bijan Robinson leading the way, I expect them to lean on the run again. With Kirk Cousins managing the offense and the Jets continuing to search for rhythm, I'm sticking with the Falcons to take this one. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Bijan Robinson under 4.5 receptions. Looking at his last 5 games, he's only hit that number once, the game where he had 8 receptions. Every other matchup has been under that line. With Atlanta relying on him more as a runner and leaning on the ground game in this matchup, I'm taking the under on his receptions. Arizona Cardinals versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Buccaneers -2.5. Tampa Bay may be struggling lately, but they're still in the better position and they're getting healthier at the right time. With Bucky Irving returning after putting up 95 plus scrimmage yards in 3 of his 4 games played plus home field advantage, and Baker Mayfield trending toward playing, I'm backing the Buccaneers to take care of business. Arizona has lost 3 straight, and even though they're moving the ball through the air, Tampa has more balance and should be able to close this one out. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Michael Wilson over 54.5 receiving yards. He's been going crazy the last 2 games. With Marvin Harrison Jr. out, Wilson stepped up big, putting up 118 yards and 185 yards in those matchups. Arizona has been airing it out heavy, and with Jacoby Brissett throwing a ton, Wilson has clearly become the go-to target. With that volume and recent production, Los Angeles Rams versus Carolina Panthers. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Rams -10.5. Los Angeles has been rolling their 6-0 straight up and 5-1 ATS in their last 6, and 4 of those wins came by 14 plus points. Meanwhile, Carolina has dropped 3 of their last 5 by double digits and continues to struggle with consistency. Bryce Young has shown flashes, but most of the time it's been rough, and now he's facing a Rams defense that ranks near the top in dropback efficiency. With Stafford surrounded by weapons like Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, and Kyren Williams, plus Carolina dealing with multiple defensive injuries, I'm backing the Rams to cover here. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Tetairoa McMillan, over 56.5 receiving yards. Carolina is likely playing from behind, which means volume, and McMillan has clearly been the go-to guy. He leads the Panthers in targets, receptions, and yards, and with the Rams ranking just middle of the pack against number 1 receivers, the opportunity should be there. If Carolina is forced to throw, McMillan should continue being the main option. Seattle Seahawks versus Minnesota Vikings. For this matchup, I'm taking the Seahawks -11.5. Seattle is fighting for the top spot in the NFC West and comes into this game off a solid win against Tennessee. Sam Darnold bounced back with 244 yards and 2 touchdowns, and now he gets a revenge game against the team that let him walk last offseason. On the other side, Minnesota is turning to undrafted rookie Max Brosmer for his first career start after JJ. McCarthy went down, and that's a tough situation against the Seattle defense that's been strong all season. With Seattle at home and in a better rhythm offensively, I'm siding with the Seahawks to cover. Now for the player prop, I'm going with AJ. Barnett under 30.5 receiving yards. Looking at his last 4 recent games, he only went over that number once, and that was the 70-yard game. Outside of that, everything has been under. With Minnesota being a decent defensive team and Seattle having other primary receiving weapons, I don't see him clearing that line consistently, so for this matchup, I'm rolling with the under on his receiving yards. Pittsburgh Steelers versus Buffalo Bills. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Steelers +3. Buffalo has lost 2 of their last 3, and turnovers have been a big issue. 3 giveaways in each of those games. On top of that, both starting offensive tackles are out, and now they're heading into Pittsburgh where the defense feeds off pressure and mistakes. With Aaron Rodgers returning and this being the kind of matchup Mike Tomlin teams grind out, I'm taking Pittsburgh with the points. Now for the player prop, I'm going with James Cook over 1.5 receptions. In his last 3 games, he's recorded 3, 3, and 5 catches, and with the offensive line injuries, Josh Allen will likely have to dump the ball off more to Cook. Los Angeles Chargers versus Las Vegas Raiders. For this matchup, I'm riding with the Los Angeles Chargers -8.5. The Raiders have dropped 9 of their last 10 and continue to struggle on both sides of the ball, while the Chargers are coming off a bye week with time to reset and address their offensive issues. The matchup favors Los Angeles at home, especially with expectations that the passing game rebounds after being shut down in their last outing. With momentum, roster talent, and matchup advantage all favoring the Chargers, this feels like a spot where they take control and secure the win. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Quentin Johnston over 3.5 receptions. Looking at his recent production, Johnston cleared this number in 2 of his last 3 full games, including a 5-catch performance against the Steelers and 4 catches with a touchdown versus Tennessee. With the expectation that the Chargers air it out more and the Raiders' defense ranking near the bottom, Johnston should be involved early and often giving him a strong shot to clear this line. Denver Broncos versus Washington Commanders. For this matchup, I'm siding with the Denver Broncos -5.5. Denver has been one of the hottest teams in the league, coming into this game on an 8-game winning streak, while Washington has dropped 6 straight. The Broncos defense has been elite, leading the NFL in sacks, allowing the fewest passing touchdowns and holding opponents to the lowest yards per rush. Meanwhile, Washington has struggled defensively, ranking bottom 5 in points allowed, yards allowed, and turnovers forced. With momentum clearly on Denver's side and Washington still searching for answers, this feels like another strong spot for the Broncos to take care of business. Now for the player prop, I'm rolling with Courtland Sutton under 4.5 receptions. In his last 5 games, Sutton has only cleared this line once, with totals of 4, 3, 1, 4, and 6 receptions. Denver has been winning through defense and balance rather than high volume passing, and with Washington adjusting their defensive play calling last week, this sets up as another spot where Sutton likely stays under that number. And that wraps up the slate. If this helped you out, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. More breakdowns and picks dropping every week. Good luck today, and I'll see you in the next one.